You are listening to the Big Scuba. This is an audio-only episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Big Scuba podcast. My name's Ian.
And my name is Gemma.
Welcome. So this is episode 33. Here's some interesting facts straight away. Did you know? I know you look forward to these every episode.
I love them.
Right? So 33 in science is the atomic number for arsenic.
Great.
There we go. And also, according to Newton's scale, it's also the temperature at which water boils. So there's a couple of facts for you there. Welcome. It's another episode. It's been a busy time at the Big Scuba podcast.
It certainly has. Yeah.
Where does the time go to? I can't believe it's a week ago since we...
Yeah, the weeks are whizzing by, and we're certainly filling them.
Thank you very much for downloading us. Really appreciate that someone, that you've gone to the effort of doing that and keeping in with us. What we need you also to do, if you do get a chance, go onto the old YouTube channel under The Big Scuba and just hit the old subscribe button and ring that bell. Yes, please. So that way you'll get your notifications whenever we bring a video out or audio book or whatever.
Well, I think we've got lots of adventures planned, haven't we? So.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a chilly old winter, but hey, we've got our thermals, we've got our glasses, so we've got a hood and gloves and the rest of it. So why not? Let's talk about let's talk about diving. So, tell us about what we've been up to. What's been going on?
Well, last weekend we jumped in a river in our local river, the River Wenton.
In Norwich?
Yeah, and that was in aid of a litter pick. So we were the underwater litter pickers.
We were, and so this is under the hashtag World Rivers Day celebration, wasn't it? So we were invited to join the Norwich Green Party. Hello to you guys. Peter, hello. Shout out to you who organised it. Thank you very much. Had the TV and some press there. That was really good. And it was really good to get involved in something. And I don't know how many bags of litter.
There were lots, wasn't there? Yeah,
loads. So that's really good. The depth of the river was estimated at about 2.5 meters, so about 6-7 foot.
And how far did you get?
I clocked 7 meters on my 2 dive computers. So, which they were all a bit shocked about. They're like, "Really? You sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's actually backed up with the other dive computer as well.
Yeah.
So 7 meters is a bit of a size.
So when the visibility is clearer, we've had a lot of rain, so that made a big difference to the visibility. But
at the bottom, I literally had put my hand virtually on my mask to see it. I couldn't hardly see the dive computer. I couldn't, I wouldn't have been able to see you if it weren't for you at all. But hey, we're booked for the next one, so
Yeah, and I think we'll jump in the river before that as well. So.
Oh, good, yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's a good thing to do. So if you're in the UK, there's no reason why you still can't dive. We were kayaking as well. Got out on the kayak as well on Monday did the Bungee Loop, which is our local river.
Yeah, breaking the weather. So that was good.
So we've been given some cameras by our friends and partners, Paralens, to kind of get used to them, try them, and see what else you can use them for. And we've been using them above the water, below the water. We're using St. Abs where we first time and used to it up there, didn't we?
Yeah, that was good.
And then and they're really good because you can just connect them to the side of your mask. And their settings are really easy. You get a small vibration so you know when it's turned on and off. And you can have it set so when you drop down below the surface, that automatically start recording as well. So you don't have
temperature and depth.
Yeah, it's really good. Automatic white balance as well, depending on whether you're in fresh or salt water as well. So really good. I'm really pleased with it, and used it at CrossFit as well. So look out for that video. It's out on social media of us using the Paralens dive camera.
So that's all on YouTube, Big Scuba. Yeah, so we've got episode 33 just ready to roll. So
who we got coming up on this one?
got Georgina Miller from Aqua City, and they're based at Porthcerris down on the, well, Cornwall, Devon coast.
So these were connected to us, weren't they, by our friends at Maris SSI?
Yeah, so they're an SSI affiliated dive centre, so they recommended we have a chat to them. And yeah, Georgina Miller, yeah, she's a renowned free diver, and she has a chat to us about what they do. And yeah.
And I was absolutely blown off my socks because she said that she
blown off your socks.
I was 7 minutes.
I know.
7 minutes. Can you imagine holding your breath for 7 minutes? In fact,
no.
Right, you ready? Let's try it. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm going to give up now.
7 minutes. Can you imagine that? That's unreal. I think I've done about a minute, maybe a little bit more, but that's about it. So,
but there we go. We're going to go on a free diving course next year. So
yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah, we're going to crack that
Tor-
and do that.
Mr. Torbett, he was after some people, wasn't he? And he
Yep.
said, "Yeah, count us in. We'll be up for that."
Cool.
So Andy Torbett will be there learning from you guys. So that'd be really good.
Yeah, she's just got lots to say about the whole diving thing and about the free diving and just how accessible UK diving is to everybody, which is incredibly refreshing, ready for next year, because travel is not going to be as accessible, so you need to look at your options in the UK.
It does, and actually this echoes, our earlier podcast that we had with Miranda, when we spoke to Miranda saying same thing, and another big advocate of UK diving.
Yep. So I know not everybody that listens to this is in the UK, but all our UK listeners, we just need to value what we've got around the coastline and Ireland as well, and make the most of it.
But to be fair, that if you listen to us in America, it makes you kind of focus that no matter where you are. And I think, don't we talk about this the other day, that you kind of get used to when you're living somewhere is having to travel somewhere else to then go dive and explore, and often you miss these gems that are actually on your doorstep or within an easy reach. And no matter what country you're in, whether you're in America, South America, Bahamas, or wherever in the UK, you've got somewhere good. In fact, let's even bring Phil Short into this. Got to find your magic in every dive.
And love where you live.
Yeah, exactly. So, there we are. So there's a little something for you. So there we go. Look about what's on your doorstep and go find that magic on what's on your doorstep. Yeah,
and I think Georgina Miller will inspire you to try free diving and visit the South Coast.
Yeah, that was really exciting chat. So look forward to this one. So I think that's a good key to bring them in.
Yeah, so here's episode 33 with Georgina Miller.
Awesome.
Okay.
Fall away, and I'll play the fool.
Hello.
Hello.
It's always like, just wait for the sound to come through.
Sorry, it takes a few minutes, doesn't it?
Well, thank you for joining us. It's
No, nice to talk to you both.
Yeah, so obviously through Mares, they put us in contact or suggested we make contact with you because they're trying to promote the UK diving scene. So
yeah, brilliant, excellent stuff. Well, we've got we're in a lovely spot down here. We're very lucky. We've got, I can show you out the window actually. It's beautiful. Look at that.
Oh wow!
There we go.
It's
It's really gorgeous, yeah. Nice and sunny. We're down on the Lizard in Cornwall,
Wow!
at Porthcerris Dive Centre. So I don't know if you've done some UK diving before. You've probably heard of it, or you've maybe dived there. I don't know. Have you? Okay.
Yeah, a long while ago, but yeah, several years ago. That's the furthest place south, isn't it?
South and west, yeah, more or less. We're not quite on the Lizard, we're just sort of before it. The actual Lizard itself is a rather kind of wild spot, but so we're just we're more tucked into the Bay of Falmouth, so it's a bit more protected.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. We're in a marine conservation zone, so
Yeah.
yeah.
How long have you been going for? did you kind of start this Aqua City yourself?
Yeah, we did. I mean, I've been freediving competitively since 2007, so quite a long time now. And I guess it was probably 5 or 6 years ago that we set this up. We were actually in London at the time, but obviously it's a little more restrictive in terms of freedive training. So yeah, no, we moved down here, and yeah, we've been joined up with Porthcaris Dive Centre, which is an amazing venue. It's just beautiful. We've got it's kind of like a resort, sort of really 5-star conditions. They've got a swimming pool on site, which under normal circumstances is open to use. At the moment it's still closed, but we've got a beautiful sort of shore dive that ranges from the shallows to about sort of 17 or 18 meters, so it's perfect for entry level training. And a couple of boats to access the Manacles Marine Conservation Zone, so we've got sort of access to deep water, and it's pretty famous for its shipwrecks as well, I think.
You've got some good wrecks out that your way, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. They're kind of like quite broken because of the fact that we've got such a massive movement of water. So the wrecks, they're the real deal, though. I like the fact that they're not sort of purpose sunk, tourist attraction. They're the real thing. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful place to dive, and it's nice that we can kind of offer people the whole package. Actually, they've got accommodation at Porthcaris as well as the dive centre, so they've got a little cafe, and
it sounds lovely.
So it's really idyllic. You have to come and visit us.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. So how did you get into freediving?
I think I used to teach scuba a long time ago, never in the UK, if I'm being completely honest. I was a bit too wimpy for that. I was a warm water instructor. But I saw somebody out in Thailand freediving with a monofin, and I just thought, wow, that looks amazing. I'd love to try it. And I mean, I think freediving really is anything on a single breath. So I probably had been doing it. I just didn't really know what I was doing. And I took a course in 2006 and sort of found out about it a bit more as a sport. And actually since then it's really come on such a long way, because at the time it was very focused around competition diving, to see how deep you could get or how long you could hold your breath for. But it's been adopted by the scuba training agencies, and they've sort of managed to make it into more of a holistic kind of approach, really, because I think most people come to it with an eye to wanting to explore underwater rather than the kind of competitive side of it. So actually a lot of what we're doing is more like adventure freediving, to make it a bit more accessible, and you can get so close to things as well, because you don't have the same kind of noise around you as when you're on scuba. Obviously rebreathers aside, but that takes a huge amount of training, so it's kind of becoming more accessible. I think it's a bit more like surfing or running or something like that you can that you can access the underwater world.
And obviously you don't need to buy so much equipment either.
Well, there is that. It's a bit there's less to it, if I'm being completely honest, though. You can still go and buy a gold wetsuit, and it costs a lot of money, and carbon fibre fins and all sorts of.
Yeah, I've heard about these carbon fibre fins. They can get quite expensive, can't they?
Oh, amazingly, yeah. I mean, the sort of top of the range carbon fibre fins would be about 500 or 600. Free diving is a bit of a misnomer in that regard, but essentially, when it's broken down to its essentials, you need the right tools for the right job. You're exploring in dive wet sins.
Do you know Helena Boudillon?
I do, yes.
Because she was on a while ago, and she was talking about mental health, because that was Mental Health Week, and she came on and talked about how her freediving has helped her with her mental health and things like that, and she talked all about that, and that was really good to tie in with mental health. And just wondered, because she talked about some expensive. I wondered whether you knew her.
Oh yeah, I know her very well, actually, because we both compete for the UK. So we dive together quite a lot. Helena's I think she travels a lot more, so she's not in the UK quite as much, I don't think. I'm not quite sure where she is at the moment, actually. I hope for her it's somewhere exotic with deep water. But yeah, no, I mean, she's sort of focusing on the professional competitive diving, and it's unfortunately, it's not like Formula One. You know, there's not a huge amount of help with it, so the expenses can kind of mount up a bit. But that's kind of, I think, because you know, you do need to be quite single-minded to do the kind of diving that she's doing. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of dedication. So I think it's kind of like, it's another facet of freediving for sure.
That must have took a lot of practice to get that photo of you sitting there mid-water with your legs crossed. That couldn't have been was that first go doing that?
It might have been, actually. I'm quite bendy. No, my partner Dan is.
There's some news for us all.
Hello, Georgina, bendy. No, it's my partner Dan is a videographer, freediving photographer and videographer. So we're super lucky to have him makes us all look good. And that's nice, actually, because he's taking a lot of pictures underwater here in Cornwall. Yeah. And like, honestly, when I first started this, I had no idea that it would be like an attractive diving proposition. You know, you kind of think it's going to be really cold and murky, but actually it's beautiful. It's just amazing. I think it's, on a good day, one of the nicest places that I know of to dive.
Yeah.
Well, you're getting the South Atlantic waters coming up there, aren't you? It's going to be
it's a bit more sort of temperate, I think. It doesn't really drop too much below 8 or 10 in the sea in winter time. It's not really the temperature that stops us, it's more the wind, because it can get quite stormy. So, you know, the conditions can be amazing, but they can also turn around and be quite bumpy and quite challenging. But I think that's part of the joy of diving here, really. You know, it's a wilderness, and that's part of the appeal, as well as
the wilderness
can sometimes be challenging. But yeah, no, it's a great location.
I was talking to someone last night, and who's used to living on the coast, like myself and Gemma and yourself, and he's now moving inland. And he was saying to me last night how he don't know how he's gonna feel about that, because he's never lived inland. And although I'm inland as well by about 10 miles, I suppose.
That's not that far, though, is it?
It's not. I couldn't move further away. I love being the coast. And that's beautiful. You know, where you are is a beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, we're so lucky. I mean, I think there's so much to be said for living near the water and being able to kind of, you know,
as Gemma
indulge
you.
Whereabouts are you, Gemma? Are you
I live on the Suffolk coast, just south of Lowestoft. Yeah, so I'm literally kind of a 5-minute walk from the beach. So, you know.
Oh, beautiful. Same as us.
But there's nothing like it. You just know, if I go back to see my parents inland, it's just like coming home. I've always wanted.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah,
I think there's it's quite a sort of primal experience as well, isn't it, in a way? Like so many people feel attracted to water for so many different reasons. I mean, even if you're not a diver, it's still something that people are drawn to.
Aren't we something like 80% water anyway?
I think so.
Maybe that's right.
Maybe it depends how much coffee you drink. I think it's definitely part of our sort of instinct, almost like part of our soul, to want to be kind of close to water for one reason or another. But it certainly keeps you fit and healthy and keeps you on the straight and narrow.
Morning, what do? Do you look at your scuba gear and you think, let's go scuba diving, or do you think, nah, I can't be done with all that, let's just go for snorkeling and freediving? What do you do?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't blown any bubbles for a long time, like a really long time. Yeah, I think probably 2010 was the last time I went scuba diving. I probably need a refresher by now. Yeah, we could do a swap. Freediving for some scuba diving. I think because of the fact that freediving kind of, as I said before, it's not necessarily just about, you know, diving as deep as you can or holding your breath. It's also about sort of being underwater and looking at the world. And so I think it kind of, for me, it kind of satisfies both sides of it. I mean, they say that scuba diving is more about looking out and exploring what's around, but I think it can be both. So I don't really find I miss it, really, because I feel like, you know, we're just all enjoying the sea for the
being in the water.
So it's I mean, I think I just I haven't really done much for quite a long time. So yeah.
So do you actually teach freediving at the centre? Is that what
we
you
do? Yeah. We're an SSI dive centre, and so as much as I'm also a PADI instructor as well, the SSI side of it, I found it's a nice flexible programme. When I took my courses initially, I took an IADA course, which is a free dive specific agency, and it was all about sort of, you know, going deep. And I think probably a lot of people on the first day, particularly in cold water, and they need a bit more time with equalization, might not reach the mark. So the SSI program is quite nice because you're kind of very much encouraged to do things at your own pace, and you know, and the performance requirements are very flexible, and the training materials are really good. So it's kind of like it's a nice sort of flexible approach to it, which suits us here quite well, because we might have very kind of seasoned divers that have spent a lot of time under the water and are just interested in trying something new, and they're really off to a head start, or people that have just seen it on TV and fancy giving it a try, which can often be, I think it's very brave, you know. You're not necessarily a strong swimmer, or you haven't done any diving or snorkeling before, that you want to come and give it a try, because it's quite I think when you look at it from the outside, it could probably appear to be quite terrifying, but actually it's a lot to do with relaxation and more comfortable water, and sort of it's a very gentle sport, really. So it's
would you say taking your mind off breathing?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I think when you're under the water and you're feeling comfortable, you don't really have especially when you're exploring a reef, you don't really have a kind of a feeling of, like, it doesn't feel like a difficult thing to do. When you're in the swimming pool, perhaps doing timed breath holds or distance swims underwater, it's much more like an endurance sport. But definitely with deep diving and exploring the reef, it's really super mellow.
So where are we with time then? How long do you reckon you could hold your breath for?
My personal best is a bit over 7 minutes.
No.
Yeah, but that's just like lying face down at the surface. It's a really boring spectator sport, I think.
7 minutes?
Yeah, 7 minutes.
Do you have to
imagine holding my breath for 7 minutes.
Do you have to prepare yourself to build up to that 7 minutes? Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's taken quite a lot of practice. So yeah, it's but that's kind of, as I said, it's a lot to do with relaxation and meditation and understanding the science behind it as well. So it takes quite a lot of practice to get to that point.
I learned after about a minute to kind of do like a gag almost, to like where you can swallow and not let all the air out, and then hold on for maybe about another 10 seconds or so.
That's to do with your CO2 levels rising a little bit. That's what causes the urge to breathe. It's not actually low oxygen. So once you start getting all of those breathing reflexes, you can actually hold your breath for a bit longer than you think you could, kind of thing.
Wow.
But it's just one of those things that you need to come to kind of really progressively. And that would be more of a competitive discipline.
7 minutes. That is amazing.
That gives you lots of exploring time. 7 minutes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the more you move around, the more oxygen you're burning. So the breath hold, the time you spend underwater can get a bit shorter there.
So if you were, say, you're out on a reef having a snorkel or having a free dive, just roughly, what are we saying? A couple of minutes, maybe.
It completely depends on how hard you're working. If you're sort of swimming against a current, it can be quite a lot shorter than that. But if you're in relatively shallow water and it's all kind of quite mellow and an easy environment, a couple of minutes wouldn't be out of the question. So it's different to scuba diving, but it is sort of lovely in its own way. I think as well the depth side of it I find really fascinating too, because I think for me passing the 40-meter mark was a really big deal free diving, because I felt like it was sort of, that's the edge of recreational diving.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a big hurdle mentally to get over with that. But so I think but it doesn't feel like a 40-meter deep scuba dive is quite a big deal, whereas for free diving it's kind of something you come to more than
question for you, just on that. I remember when I first done 40 metres scuba dive, and I was like, well, 30, about 38, something like that. And I remember being, my mind thinking, right, it's deeper as I've gone, blah, blah, blah. Did that sort of play on your mind? Or did you sort of try and think, ignore the depth. I'm just going to ignore that. I'll worry about that afterwards once I've done it.
No, I think
How
it
did you
definitely
deal with
comes into it. You sort of, if you've had a background in scuba, because you have a sort of preconceived idea about what a deep dive is. So I think you tend to find freedivers that haven't done any scuba diving before are much more sort of like, you know, fluid.
Fine.
Yeah, it doesn't really mean much, you know. When there are guys that can go to 130, I mean, what's my 40-meter dive? So, yeah.
Jacques Cousteau famously went to the Britannic, didn't he, on air? And I always found that, back in
bonkers.
In the 70s, and you think, well, how did he do that? Because most people would be off their heads.
I don't know. I was hopeless with narcosis, really, like a complete lightweight. You don't really experience the same thing freediving because of the fact that you're on a breath hold from the surface. So maybe that's partly why it doesn't feel like it's quite as much of a big deal, because the kind of concentration side is entirely. Some of the really deep divers will experience narcosis, but it has more to do with CO2 than it is. It's just different.
So if you was doing a really deep dive on a free dive, would there be people in the water with emergency air for you in case you made a mistake?
No, I think when I first started learning, they used to use scuba divers for safety, but actually now not so much. We tend to use a counterweighted system with ropes and lanyards and things. So so the freedivers actually down at the depth alone, but the people at the surface kind of know where they are. They use sonar to see them. Sometimes cameras that are like kind of drones that will go down with them. So, and it's very unusual for anything to happen at depth. It's usually the dangers of it are shallow water blackout. So that's normally in the top kind of part of the dive anyway. So that's where the safety divers can get to.
So it's the last few meters. Yeah,
exactly. And actually, like the kind of depths that freedivers are going to now, there aren't. I mean, sending scuba divers down to 100 or 130 is a really, really big deal. And they couldn't really do much there anyway. And they'd spend hours and hours and hours coming back up again. It would be incredibly boring for them. But also it's expensive and it's risky. And so I think they've developed a pretty good system in place with freedivers looking after freedivers, because we're better able to sort of help each other.
Yeah, it's amazing. So do you like free dive on a daily basis? Is that something you do? You get in the water every day?
Most of the time in summer, because of the fact that we're quite busy running courses and fun diving down here, but also I want to keep up with my own training as well, so we're kind of we're in the water quite a lot. In fact, I think sort of I'm worried about getting rusty.
It's the salt water.
It is. In the summertime, obviously in the winter it starts to be a little bit more pool based.
I bet.
Yeah. Although it's more the wind than anything else, as I said before. It just gets too bumpy. So yeah, we're in the swimming pool 2 or 3 times a week over winter with the club and keep up with things.
So what competitions have got coming up? What's next on the horizon then?
Well, lethal pathogens permitting. Travel is all a little bit up in the air at the moment. But I mean, in an absolutely ideal world, a lot of events this year have been cancelled. Our British national pool competition was meant to be back in March. I think it was actually the 28th of March, so it was just it's really bad timing. But so I think
Boris went on about 25th, didn't he? I think 21st.
Yeah, I think it was, something like that, wasn't it? So it was around the same kind of. And then a lot of the bigger competitions have been on hold for next year. But
because Red Bull, aren't they a big sponsor of free diving things?
It used to be a number of years ago, I think, but not so much now. I'm not sure that we have any sort of big kind of mainstream sponsors for the.
Because they used to do the cliff diving down your way as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that happens in. I think the last one was maybe in Chepstow. I'm sure there was something because some of the divers, the free divers from NDSC were there.
They used to do it on the front, on the seafront there somewhere, didn't they?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll have to have a look into that. I'm not sure where they were doing that.
A few years ago.
Free diving of a completely different kind.
Do you find is it quite an equal sport with females and males, or is it?
think it is actually. In terms of at a competitive level, what the men can do and what the women can do, it's really quite close together in most disciplines. And I mean, I think maybe it's the guys that are more attracted to kind of the spearfishing side of it, if you know what I mean, because that obviously is a sort of facet of the sport. But I think it's very even, the number of people we have getting interested in recreational freediving.
Yeah, because it was never on my radar until obviously I just got into scuba diving, and then we've spoken to people about freediving, and it's just not something that's very much out there to the normal.
Yeah, I think it's a relatively new sport, really. I mean, I had no idea it was a sport when I first started doing it. You know, it's kind of like, really. So it's quite kind of, yeah, it's quite fringe still, I guess, but growing in numbers. And I think now that freediving training has actually overtaken tech in terms of the numbers of certification. Yeah. So it's definitely a growing business, which is really nice. It's very nice to be involved in it at the sort of start of it. Yeah.
Have you found it's been busier since obviously people can't travel out of the country? Have you found the intake full?
Yeah, Cornwall's crazy this year. Like, I think it's folded the season in half and then doubled the number of people. And then due to the kind of COVID regulations, we're still limited about the group sizes we can take. So it is, I think it's busier now than it's ever been. But I mean, I hope that's a positive, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to think about in terms of people's safe, because a lot of thought has gone into socially distant freedive courses. But by its nature, you kind of want to get close to people and drool all over them, which is definitely not. It's not quite what you want to be doing at the moment.
Well, there's no regulator, there's no snorkel, I suppose, is there, as such?
Yeah, and there's a lot of like powerful breathing that's happening. People are recovering and things, so it's you've got to be. I mean, I think the same with scuba as well. Actually, there's an awful lot to think about in terms of the training side. But SSI have been amazing with that. Actually, they've worked quite closely with some of the dicks, and they've given us loads of advice. And Dan have been fantastic as well for both the scuba side of it and the freedive side of it. So
actually, they did some really good webinars as well, didn't they, Dan?
Yeah, they did.
In the whilst we're all locked down.
Yeah, there was really helpful. So I think a lot of dive centres were sort of armed with the right information about how to start up again, you know, in a safer way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that we're all sort of starting to be able to get back to the water again. And
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I guess it's been a frustrating start to the summer for everybody.
But it's a positive thing. We're moving forward, and it's good.
Things are going the right way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you get people coming? Do you get people coming from quite far afield to come down to Cornwall for the courses at your centre?
Yeah, I think we do, because it's a pretty kind of unique location. There are a few other trainers in the UK that dive in the lakes, but not that many that work in the sea. And I think because of the logistical side of it, we're very lucky to have a very sort of well-established dive centre to work through. So a lot of that kind of side of things is kind of taken care of, and we're in a very sheltered environment here as well. But there are a few now starting to work in the sea as well. I think you've got one fairly close to you in Selsey. I know that's not like close, but it's roughly the right.
Yeah, I'll have to have a look.
Part of the world. Mulberry Freedivers, anyway, they're great as well. And I know that they do all of their freediving in the sea too, which is lovely. And I think it's a sort of nice way to connect people with the ocean as well, because I think for the longest time, I never really kind of thought much about diving in the sea, scuba diving or freediving in the sea, until I kind of found out what it was like, you know. And it's through people doing it and people taking pictures, and that it's actually making it quite a lot more accessible, and it's lovely. It's good.
Yeah. It's good for the kind of connection to the ocean and the conservation side of it. Yeah, it makes people maybe realise a bit more, how crucial it is.
Definitely. I think if it's something that you're familiar with and that you can see the impact that we're having, it makes it so much more a sort of your life.
Yeah. Do you get many scuba divers transitioning to doing free diving?
We do have a few adventurous souls giving it a try. I think it's one of those things, though, that a lot of divers come to it sort of in order to prolong their air consumption. That's one sort of side of it that they say, I've heard it's good for that, and it definitely can be. But I think they're just they're different sports, inherently very different sports, but we all love the water. So there's bound to be kind of a huge area of crossover with it in terms of this that you enjoy with it. Yeah. Definitely. I think it can give you a lot of confidence as well with your scuba diving, learning to free. And just becoming more aquatic.
Yeah, I've just qualified this last weekend, so maybe something in the
future. Did you? As a freediver? Oh, congratulations!
No,
I was a scuba diver. Yeah. Oh, okay. The next step. Oh, well done, you! Brilliant.
Yeah, so that might be another thing to try in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Was that in the sea?
Gildy water near Peterborough. So
okay.
And then we did a shore dive Tuesday to a wreck off the Norfolk coast, and that was amazing. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful! Excellent.
Visibility was brilliant.
Yeah. Really, that's lovely because I guess it can be rougher around that part of
it. It can
sandy.
be. You get because it's quite sandy, so that can really stir up quite badly after heavy winds, so it was nice, and certainly the best viz I've seen on that wreck, so it's nice. That's good.
So I went from qualifying in this visibility to having an amazing time in the sea.
Lovely. I think it can be quite changeable though, can't it? We have a plankton bloom going on here at the moment.
Oh, right.
Which is amazing because it brings with it so much life. I think it bothers the freedivers a bit less than it bothers the scuba divers. But it can be quite dark down there, actually. And in fact, I think I saw a photograph that was taken by NASA, and you can actually see it from space.
Oh, wow.
It's that big. It's kind of hanging out around the southwest part of the UK. So it must be quite thick. But it's one of the reasons we have such amazing kind of marine life as well. So I can't complain too much.
Do you find you kind of can get quite close to the marine life when you're free diving?
I think, definitely, because I think it's related to noise. So you kind of, because you don't have the sound of the bubbles or clanking of equipment, and so I think you probably can get quite close to things. But it's sort of it also depends on how much you thrash around in the water, because the idea with freedivers are meant to learn to be quite kind of quiet and stealth-like, but obviously that takes a bit of practice. Doesn't happen straight away. But it's lovely. We have quite a few seals down here as well, which and sometimes you have to sort of give them space and but every now and again you'll get one that's quite curious and they come up and sort of nuzzle your fins, and you have to sort of stay quite still, but let them, you can kind of get, they're curious creatures and come quite close. They're my favourite, actually. I think it feels like they kind of understand us a little bit, or they're curious or playful, or there's a connection there.
That's weird. Up here they don't really come that close at all. They always keep quite away, actually. So they must be more used to divers down here.
I wonder if it may be that, and also we have a seal sanctuary quite close by, so they every year there's there's quite a few being rescued, and I think probably it might have been that they're a bit more used to people. You have to kind of be quite respectful of it though, and don't sort of go too close to them, but every now and again you kind of feel like something's following me, and they're always hiding behind you. There's amazing creatures.
That's good. So obviously part of the reason we do this is for you to promote your centre. So is there anything that you want to say to the kind of listeners about where you are and what you do?
Yeah, that would be brilliant. Well, I mean, we're down at Porthcaris Dive Centre on the Lizard. If you want to have a look at our website, it's aquacityfreediving.com, which is spelt Aquacity. So, our Facebook is the same. And we're on Instagram and Twitter at Aquacity Freediving, and Twitter's, I think, Aquacity Free, because the diving part was already taken. So you can find us there. Just drop us a line and come and see us. It's really beautiful down here at the moment, and I think we're all making the most of freedom and making the most of the summer, and actually it's a lovely time for UK diving generally. I think just that, you know, people are probably, I think more people are going to get interested in what's at home, just because there are fewer travel opportunities around, but I think that's a positive because
definitely and just talking, it's all very diverse what we've got around the UK, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. And I think we're all quite close to the water as well, which is another lovely thing. You don't actually have to travel too far to find the coast. I think it's something like 70 miles from the most furthest inland. So it's well, you know, we're an island. Let's make the most of it.
Yeah, definitely. And if somebody did like a basic free diving course, how long does it take to do?
We run level 1 courses, which is a sort of our entry level training over a weekend. So it's, you know, it's actually quite an accessible thing, and that gives you the sort of basis to be able to go and carry on with things, because you kind of the safety train, you know, that sort of side of it. So basically promoting getting into the water and getting in water safely to try. And I think it is, you know, it can be something for everyone. Don't be put off by images of, you know, competitive free divers or laying face down in the water for 7 minutes. I mean, that just looks stupid, doesn't it? And a bit sinister.
Wake up!
No, it's hilarious. Stupid sport. My mum came to a competition once and she said, "George, that was the most boring and stressful thing I've ever seen. So well done, but I don't want to see you doing that again." But no, it can be, you know, as I said, it can be a lot to do with just getting in and having a good explore. So come and give it a try.
Might tempt some more people. Definitely. Great. So
Come on, you haven't mentioned Mr. Corbett yet.
Oh, Andy. He's been doing some diving with us. He was down, was it last weekend? He and my partner Dan have just gone off. It was actually quite rough in the sea, so they went to a quarry nearby and they've just made a climbing free dive climbing kind of film together. Just they were sort of playing around for the after. I think he's a great ambassador for adventure free diving, because he's really sort of, we're doing I think he's coming back at the end of August to do a bit more deep diving with us, and hopefully onward and downward.
I like that.
No, it's good, and it's good to have some, you know, names like that for the sport, because it just exposes it, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It was great when he came on and he gave us his time to talk to us. He was practically our first sort of guest, really.
So I have to go and look it up. No, he's a great guy. He's a great guy, and he's a brilliant diver as well. I mean, like, incredible scuba diver and an amazing free diver too. So, it's good to know adventurous souls, isn't it?
It is. It's kind of infectious as well, hopefully. Kind of the more you associate with people like that, it kind of
definitely
have some little impact.
Yeah, lovely.
Okay, all right, well, thanks so much for your time. It's been lovely.
It's been lovely. Lovely to talk to you guys too, and I hope you manage to get back in the water soon.
Yes.
Brilliant.
Lovely. All right, well, enjoy the rest of the day. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Cool. Cheers. Bye.
Fall away, and I'll play the fool. Can't erase the things we've been through. Been 10 days another